The sun rose over the Balkan mountains as it had for centuries, casting its light on a land with a long and tangled history. But in the spring of 1998, the soil of Kosovo was trembling, not from earthquakes or storms, but from the footsteps of soldiers, the rumble of tanks, and the cries of a people caught in the middle of a deadly conflict. Kosovo, a province in the southern part of what was then Yugoslavia, was home to a majority ethnic Albanian population and a minority of ethnic Serbs. The tension between the two groups had been simmering for decades, rooted in nationalism, identity, and the bitter memories of past wars. When the Yugoslav president Slobodan Milosevic rose to power in the late 1980s, he inflamed these tensions, promising to defend the Serb minority while stripping Kosovo of its autonomy. By the late 1990s, those promises had turned into a brutal crackdown. The Kosovo Liberation Army, a guerrilla group of ethnic Albanians, had begun attacking Serbian police and military forces. In response, the Yugoslav army launched operations not only against the rebels, but against civilians suspected of supporting them. Villages were burned, families were forced to flee into the mountains, and then came the mass graves. The world began to pay attention. Images of refugees crossing borders into Albania and Macedonia flooded the media. International leaders watched, concerned but cautious. Diplomacy was attempted. Talks were held in Rambouillet, France, but they collapsed. The violence only escalated. In March 1999, NATO made a decision that would shape the course of the war. They launched an aerial bombing campaign against Yugoslav military targets. For 78 days, the skies over Serbia and Kosovo thundered with explosions. NATO jets struck bridges, power plants, and military convoys. The goal was to force Milosevic to withdraw his forces from Kosovo and end the atrocities. But the campaign came at a cost. Civilians died, infrastructure crumbled, and anger burned on both sides. Finally, in June 1999, Yugoslavia agreed to withdraw. The war had officially ended, but the suffering had not. Enter the United Nations. With the signing of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1244, Kosovo was placed under the temporary administration of the United Nations. It was a unique and ambitious mission. The UN, along with NATO peacekeepers, known as KFOR, would oversee the rebuilding of a shattered land. They had to disarm militias, facilitate the return of refugees, establish local governance, and most critically, rebuild trust. This was not easy. Ethnic tensions still ran high. Revenge attacks flared. Many Serbs fled Kosovo, fearing reprisal. The UN set up schools, hospitals, and institutions, but corruption and political gridlock often slowed progress. New elections were held. A provisional government was formed. Gradually, step by step, Kosovo began to find its footing. In 2008, Kosovo declared independence. Many countries recognized it, but others, most notably Serbia and Russia, did not. The United Nations mission remained, adapting to the evolving political landscape, still working in tandem with the European Union and other organizations to support peace, democracy, and reconciliation. The story of Kosovo is not just one of war. It is a story of trauma, but also resilience. It is a story where international cooperation, though imperfect, provided a bridge between devastation and recovery. And perhaps in the shadows of ruined buildings and broken pasts, the hope remains that lessons learned in Kosovo can light the path for peace in other corners of the world. Thank you for listening to Explained Under 5 Minutes. If this episode helped you find a little more clarity, consider subscribing and sharing with someone who could use it too. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, and stay curious.